Oh my gosh, I cannot even tell you how excited I am and how excited all of these people are here. This is it, the official August 11th announcement by Ford, their Model T moment. It's in moments.
In moments. They said 3 minutes, I think. So we got to hurry up. We're going to get all of the info here. It's going to be, of course, everybody's going to see all of this info live because there's a live stream. But we're going to try to get all the extra info, like all the employees that are here, just sort of judge the reaction here, but also give you the analysis because we've been studying this stuff for a while. By the way, if you don't know us, we are now the electric duo. Yes, we were the machevlog, but as you can tell, we're still loving on Ford. This is the big Ford Model T moment, and we are now the electric duo.
We still run the Mustang Mach-E Club of America. We're going to ask lots of questions when we get an opportunity, but let's just pan very quickly and show you the scene here.
We'll do it this way.
Yeah, let's do it that way. Can you see the governor of Kentucky is here, all the Ford execs, dealers, everything, so many people, all different media. It's incredibly exciting. All of the employees seem really excited here. So we're going to cover everything.
Yeah, keep watching. We're going to have extra bonus coverage and lots of analysis. Not only in this video, but this whole week, we're going to be focusing on a lot of the individual details of this announcement that is coming up.
So let's go.
In our careers as automobile people, we're lucky if we get to work on one, maybe two projects to really change the face of our industry. And I believe today is going to light the match as one of those projects for all of us here. We finally get to tell what we've been working on for 3 years behind the doors. We call this the Ford Universal Electric Vehicle Platform. It represents the most radical change on how we design and how we build vehicles at Ford since the Model T. And I'm especially pleased to announce that the first vehicle off this new platform will be a mid-sized truck built right here at Louisville and will reach customers in 2027. Now, the automotive industry in America is at a crossroads. We're at a crossroads about new technology and about new competition from everywhere. We saw this coming for years. We knew that the Chinese would be the major player for us globally. Companies like BYD, new startups from around the world. Big technology has their ambition in the auto space. They're all coming for us, legacy automotive companies. We needed a radical approach and a really tough challenge to create an affordable vehicle that delights customers in every way that matters. Design and innovation, flexibility, interior space, driving pleasure, and lower cost of ownership. But we need to do it and be sustainable and make money. And we need to do it with American workers. We looked at the past for innovation. We looked at the Model T and the flathead V8 that Mr. Ford installed in our cars in '32. These were times when Ford broke with tradition and broke the rules. And we made a leap forward. So back 3 years ago, we did something that no one really saw. We empowered a tiny Skunkworks group of people in California, a tenth of the normal people we would hire to do this kind of work, 3 time zones away from Detroit. And we gave them the keys to the kingdom. We tore up the moving assembly line that you see here today, and we came up with a brand new concept, a brand new vehicle, and a better way of making a car after 122 years. We found a path to be the first automaker in the United States to make prismatic LFP battery cells here in the US and not importing them from overseas. We will spend $2 billion here in Louisville modernizing this plant. 2,200 hourly workers that have a future for decades to come. And we didn't stop there. We built a Blue Oval Battery Park in Michigan. We spent $3 billion building a brand new battery plant and almost 2,000 new jobs for those people. That's $5 billion and 4,000 American jobs. And what do our competitors do? They build their affordable vehicles in South Korea and Japan and they import them. But not us at Ford. We made a big bet on our country and we made a huge bet on the state and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now, why do I say bet? That's an intentional word, because there are no guarantees with this project. We're doing so many new things, I can't tell you with 100% certainty that this will all go just right. It is a bet. There is risk. The automotive industry has a graveyard littered with affordable vehicles that were launched in our country with all good intentions, and they fizzled out with idle plants, laid off workers, and red ink. And at Ford, 3 years ago, we set out to break that cycle. No more compliance cars, no more loss leaders that require a big check from the company to make. We're talking about a vehicle that can sustain itself, have strong profits, so all of our workers and the community here has actually a sustainable future. We could have followed and packed up our bags and moved this kind of project to South Korea or Japan or somewhere else for lower cost labor, currency advantages, low cost suppliers, but that is not the way we do things at Ford. We took on the challenge many others have stopped doing. We're taking the fight to our competition, including the Chinese, with teams across the United States, designers from California, engineers from Michigan, American workers right here in Louisville. And after 40 years in the industry, I could tell you, for too long, legacy automakers played it safe. It wasn't always that way, you know. The beginning of our industry, do you know steam and electricity and gasoline were a third of sales? There was no clear winner on the technology side. It was up for grabs, but two things happened. We found oil in West Texas, and Henry Ford came out with the Model T, and it was game over. The internal combustion engine took off. The Model T became the true first universal car. It was affordable, it was adaptable, like this beautiful pickup truck from the Kentucky Farm Bureau. I mean, it came in different body styles. You could put rail car wheels on it. You could use it as a sawmill. It changed society, and if you had a wrench and some common sense, you could even fix it. Now is time to change the game once again. The new pickup built here in Louisville is going to cure a lot of problems, like all those generic two-row crossovers that dominate our industry. So I want you to close your eyes metaphorically and think about a product. This new truck, based on this universal platform, are going to be more spacious inside than the RAV4, the best-selling car in the United States. But it will have a frunk, and it will have a whole pickup truck bed behind it. No one has seen this kind of flexibility. Tons of room for 5 adults, bikes, surfboards, work equipment, whatever you need. You don't have to put it on the top. You don't have to put it on the tow hitch. It's all in the vehicle. It will be faster than our Mustang twin turbo. It will be fully connected with a brand new digital experience no one's seen in our country. It will offer for the first time fast charging. It will have amazing range. It can power your house for 6 days. You don't need a generator. You just buy this truck. And we're going to start the vehicle at $30,000. Just like old Henry, our idea is that the people who work here at Louisville will be able to buy this car and spend money on other things they love, like vacations and their home and their kids' education. We'll eventually make multiple body styles for work and play. And Doug and Bryce are going to tell you more about actually how we did that. Our goal, again, was to put an affordable, unbelievably great product within reach of millions of Americans, built in the U.S. by U.S. workers, and not be imported. Why hasn't anyone done that? Because it's really, really hard. And it's now time to write that next future and chapter for Ford. So, all I'd have to say is, let's go Louisville, come on.
So the reason I came back to Ford was I wanted to figure out how we could combine the innovation of the startups like Tesla and Rivian with the industrial might and the storied 122 history of Ford. And this quote here from Henry Ford was our constant inspiration. The Model T was affordable not because it was a thrifted version of other cars that were out there. It was the result of brilliant minds taking fundamentally new approaches to old problems. We had to do the same thing. So we started very small. We hired a person named Alan Clark, who you'll see on video. And we started to build a very small team around that, hand-picked talent, the best from outside of Ford, the best from inside of Ford. We looked for people who were not only the best in their field, but that also had been dying for a chance to challenge convention. And we ran the team differently. It had a fraction of the typical oversight and much lower numbers of people. We didn't allow people who needed to be managed on the program. We wanted leaders. Every member was expected to understand how their work affected the entire work and to prioritize the total cost and to prioritize the way it was built here. For example, in our old systems, a chassis engineer might be actually penalized for spending an extra $5 on brakes. And in cases like this project, that $5 could have saved us $20 in batteries, $25 in batteries, because they were lower drag. So our team worked that way constantly and tirelessly. One of our mantras was simple. It was, the best part is no part. So we locked the doors, we kept the project secret to shield it from well-intended, but sometimes disruptive corporate oversight. Even Jim would joke that he wasn't sure his badge worked on the building. And we gave the team access to everything that Ford offers, but we also gave them the permission to question everything, from old obsolete requirements to actually having to use a brand new computer-aided design system. So the engineers could see their part every day at the beginning of the day in the entire assembly. So they could keep system thinking. So to ensure focus, we also made sure the entire team was in one building in California. The designers, the aerodynamicists, the people doing the manufacturing work, and decisions were made really quickly, either by Alan in a bi-weekly review that I had, or straight to Jim to make the final call. And we wouldn't have gotten this far with this much innovation otherwise. On the topic of efficiency, the same obsession with efficiency goes across every part to make the whole. So we can actually, compared to a typical Generation 1 electric vehicle, we can get the same range with a third less battery. And that's the kind of ingenuity we need to compete with the Chinese. Are we going to compete on labor to make batteries? No. But if we use our brains to have a third smaller battery, we can compete. So just like the Model T, this innovation is going to be how we deliver affordability and, as Jim said, a sustainable project. Not a charity case, not a compliance project. But I want you to hear more now from the actual team.
Marker. This was not easy at all.
We're fighting a battle globally that is ultimately testing our capability.
It's really not about chasing a singular magical secret.
Change is necessary.
The mission is to design, develop, architect a new EV platform to build affordable vehicles for Ford Motor Company.
We had involvement with both product and manufacturing.
Bringing us together to optimize every system, every component, every part with this one end goal.
And that's the motivation that drives everyone. Backs against the wall, and you got to make it happen.
And it became very clear that there's no silver bullet, really.
That's kind of where we started to figure out, hey, maybe we could actually build the vehicle differently. Traditionally, all the way back to the Model T, vehicles are built on an assembly line. And it's one straight line. And you just bring all the parts to the car, and the line continues to move. Been around assembly lines for 21 years, and they're built the exact same way, and the same problems are always there. For me, Wiring is always this nemesis, and if you don't change that input, then nothing else is ever going to change. There were tons of doubts. Teams would come back and say, well, you're going to fail here, you're going to fail there, you're going to fail here. We came up with the Ford Universal EV Production System. So it's more of a tree formation. So breaking up the vehicle into 3 different sub-assembly lines in parallel. And what that's actually doing is shrinking the overall time to go from start to finish with fewer stations and coming together seamlessly. And because of those modular sections, there's no obstruction. You have now full access where typically we would be reaching in through the door, twist, turn in order to install parts. Now everything is right in front of you. Unicastings are very important to this architecture. We can have one large casting as one process, saving time, weight, and cost.
This gives you a once-in-a-generation opportunity to architect an entirely new platform with an entirely new powertrain and lower cost for our customer.
That saw this as more than an experiment. They saw it as an opportunity to make their mark in automotive.
The biggest factor that affects the cost of an electric vehicle is batteries. But reducing the size of the battery makes its way into every other part of the vehicle and allows us to make a lot of cost gains. We are going to use lithium iron phosphate batteries. They are cobalt and nickel free. It also serves as the floor, which means better ride, isolation from road noise, better handling. This really allows for a much better fun to drive experience for the customer.
The battery, the drive units, and everything are so much smaller that for the same size outside, you actually get more space on the inside of the vehicle. You can put the powertrain in the front or the back. So as a result, we could give the customer more legroom, more headroom, and ultimately makes a better vehicle. Developing this affordable EV architecture has been the biggest challenge of my career, but also give us the profound opportunity to really set Ford up for success in the next 120 years.
Such a great team. So to pull this off, we had to make a lot of new investments. The unicasting process that you saw, that giant, massive piece of aluminum, comes from very new machines and new processes. But when you build a vehicle that way, if you just look at the body and compare it to a traditional pickup, 3/4 of the parts are gone. It has 1/4 of the parts. 2/3 of the welds are gone, for those of you who run the body shop, and half of the fasteners are gone. But we didn't stop with the body. In the electrical system, compared to typical Gen 1 electric SUVs, the team removed 4,000 feet of wiring. Over 3/4 of a mile of wiring is gone. And the disruption to how we build this whole vehicle is every bit important to us as the product itself. You saw the straight, singular assembly line. When we now build this in the tree with the 3 pieces and bring them together, everything is going to change. If we can pull this off, you will never put an instrument panel or a seat through a door opening again. And this way of building a vehicle, we're confident, is the first time anyone's done this anywhere in the world. So this will be a very special place. Now, you might be wondering why we decided that our universal vehicle should be an EV. It enabled a lot of the revolution you're going to see in the assembly, but we also believe EVs are the best product, by far, for the customers we're going after. You charge it at home, it's always ready in the morning, and you never visit a gas station. It's a really surprising experience once you own one. Incredibly low maintenance, and it's really, really fun. In this vehicle, we have a really low center of gravity from the battery, instant torque from the electric motors, obsessive chassis engineering by our Ford team, and it will be unbelievable to drive. And it's more than a truck. As Jim mentioned, it's a mobile power plant. Outlets in the back can give you high power and let you plug in anything from tools to a refrigerator, and it can provide backup power for your home. And over the time that you own this vehicle, it's affordable at the beginning, but it also beats the cost of ownership, even if you were to go buy a 3-year-old Tesla Model Y. And you should look it up. Those are pretty cheap. We haven't even started to get into the innovation in the interior and the digital space. The ground-up zonal architecture that we'll talk about, it doesn't just cut those 4,000 feet of wires out. It's going to have features that the industry has never seen. It'll start with things like Blue Cruise, which customers are already really finding transformative for their daily travel. But it will keep going a long ways. This is not going to be a stripped-down, old-school vehicle as a path to low cost. But unfortunately, you're going to have to wait for that chapter. I don't think there's many legacy car companies that could possibly pull off a project like this. It's why I'm here. And I don't think that the new EV startups will be able to keep up with the kind of innovation that you're seeing in manufacturing and how they can actually turn this into a reality. But new ideas are easy. Innovation is actually delivering ideas and delivering those ideas in a way that millions can access them. As Jim said, success is not guaranteed. When you take these kinds of risks, you sign up for a whole hell of a lot of work, and we're going to need all of your help. But I know Ford is the company that can and will pull this off.
Well, you guys just heard all of the announcement stuff. We were just there. It was very exciting. We got all the information that you did, but it was really neat, like reading the room. You could tell the employees are super excited by what's to come, including cooled air. It's really, really hot in here. If you want the extra behind the scenes, it's a lot of sweat. It's very warm here, but it's really amazing to sort of see this assembly line that is going to be transformed in the next couple of years.
Yeah, assembly tree now. The hubbub that's behind us is Jim Farley. He's giving interviews right now. I think you can see him right there. Let's scooch a little maybe so you can see it. Oh, there. Here, he's right here now. There's so much stuff is happening. I have a fancy pony that matches his just because I'm so excited to be here. And I think there were some things, we're just going to roll a little bit.
Yeah.
There were some things that really stood out. They are not compromising in any way. They're not compromising on quality, on charging, and then they're not compromising on the experience of the factory worker. And it's crazy to think of how hard it was. I'm actually really glad. You can tell how hot we are. I'm glad that we had to sit in the heat because this, like 40 minutes in the heat compared to them working in this. I'm so glad to know that like when this plant in 2027 is officially switched, they're going to be getting AC, like Patrick said, and that they're going to be getting an experience that prioritizes their health as well. No twisting, reduced twisting, like easier manufacturing. And we can only expect this will be easier repairs down the line too.
Well, there's going to be some trade-offs. There should be some easier repairs. Fixing my mic. But I think my main takeaway out of this was like we knew Ford was developing a low-cost EV platform. But I think, what sort of stands out to me is sort of like the combination of what they're doing. They're basically reinventing the assembly line. We've seen some other people talk about doing this. Tesla's called it the unboxed assembly. There's some other, I believe, what was it? The BMW one is
I something. I can't even remember.
So others have talked about it. It looks like this is going to be one of the first. But like basically reimagining the assembly line, coming up with unicasting, which is sort of like gigacasting that people are familiar with that Tesla's been doing, some structural battery pack integration. So a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, combining it all, as well as a huge new digital experience. You saw Doug Field up there sort of saying that like that stuff is still to be written and still to come. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that Ford is using all at once. So we were hoping for some new EV in 2027, and we're going to get a new EV in 2027, but it's like built a different way, different battery pack, different battery chemistry.
Zone architecture as well.
Zonal architecture.
The wires by 4,000 feet, like 3/4 of a mile, which is really strange to think of that our cars have that much wiring inside there and that this can simplify it so much. and simplify the production process too. The tree production process, their Ford Universal EV production system, being front, back, and then structural battery is, I mean, and so all of them can be worked on separately. It's really, really cool to think of. And then you have people who are experts in those areas.
Yeah, and if you have never watched an assembly line, like one of the things, it makes sense to see the assembly line, but then parts of it you're like, that makes no sense. Because like they're literally like, they start building the car, and then they're like trying to get the seats through the door. They're trying to get the instrument cluster and the dashboard through the door. So they're like, that will be no more. It's going to be completely different in the way that they assemble these. So a lot of exciting stuff, trying to bring it all together at once. Jim Farley was talking about this is a big bet and talked about how much of a risk there is. But if you look at it globally and like for the future of Ford, it's like it's a gamble not to do it this way. They have to like do it all at once. It doesn't make sense to like do a structural battery pack, but then still do an assembly line. It doesn't make sense to do zonal architecture and not do some of the other benefits like with the structural battery pack. So it's like doing it all at once, taking these big steps forward. And it goes to show like Ford's investment that everybody's been talking about. It's starting to like, all the pieces are coming together with the new digital experience, with the battery plant that they've been fighting. It's been an uphill battle to get that built in Michigan. But putting it all together is going to be a huge win for Ford and for us. $30,000, 2027 is the first one. It's a truck. It's going to have a lockable bed.
Size truck.
A frunk. It's going to have faster charging. One of the things they mentioned was like 1/3 less battery. So that must mean it's pretty efficient. We don't know what range or any of that spec or how exactly fast it will charge, but all indications it's going to be game changing.
And yeah.
And the one key quote that from Doug Fields was like, it's not going to be a stripped down old school vehicle. I think that's sort of a dig at Slate because Slate's going to have a $25,000 2-door truck that is going to be versatile, but it's like going to have crank windows. So they're not going that route. And it's going to be $30,000, the room of a RAV4 inside. It just sounds really cool.
Yeah, and a couple things that we didn't necessarily get answers for. There was you can fit your surfboard and inside you can lock your surfboard
You lock your
the truck
surfboard
bed.
in the truck bed.
So I assume then there's a pass-through. The idea of how much room this is going to be is crazy. But this is incredibly exciting.
I think we've got to move. They're going to start the plant back up.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So let's get out of the way if we can wrap it up.
All right, let's do it. Let's get out of here.
So now it is literally like less than 30 minutes since everything ended. We just left the plant. We're actually over here at the Louisville airport, about ready to fly back to California. But we wanted to sort of give you our fresh take on everything. We sat in on a round table with Doug Field and Alan Clark and others to get more questions answered. We didn't get a ton of extra info. Of course, they're being vague. They sort of don't want to answer a lot of questions. They wanted to basically go off of what was in the presentation. And they focused a lot on questions that people were asking them. And they're very much concerned with the Wall Street side of things, of like profitability. Is Ford really going to commit to doing EVs and those type of things?
That was actually really incredible. We weren't able to film in there, but we did make a lot of notes. We recorded it for our own reference. And it was awesome because like we had NPR, we had Inside EVs, we had a lot of the financial magazines or resources, whatever. So you were getting questions relating to all aspects. And we got a really interesting kind of rounded dose of information about this. It is so intentional. This is not haphazard. This is a major 122-year legacy company that is fully betting, as they say, but like very intentionally on the future, and the future is electric.
Yeah, as we sort of said before, there were, it's sort of like they're putting a lot of these pieces together all at once, which is very exciting, and why they references as the Model T moment. We did, I do want to talk about like a couple of questions that we asked and others people asked that I know you'll be interested in the answers. We asked about charging speeds. They wouldn't say. We did find out it is a 400 volt architecture, which is, I'm sort of surprised. I was sort of assuming that the next gen
product from Ford would be 800 volts. And they didn't really get into that a lot because that was at the very end. But they did sort of say like, what matters for charging speed really is how many miles you're adding per minute of charging. And I think what they are banking on is that it is going to have faster charging than like the Mach-E or Lightning. But because it's going to be more efficient and you'll get more miles out of it as well for like a 15-minute charge. So that's what their real goal is. It's not necessarily peak charging speed, but how many miles can you get like in 15 minutes? So the other question I think was like super important for us to ask was, and I knew they were not going to answer, but we're like, could this be the underpinnings of a next-gen Mach-E? Could this platform power a Mach-E? And they just said, we're not here to talk about future products. So sort of to be expected.
They did say, they said the Mach-E has been phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Their excitement about the Mach-E was evident. So it didn't sound, I don't know. We had to try,
We asked multiple times.
Yeah, we asked multiple times and like just, threw those questions out there multiple times just because this was such a great opportunity. So going off the feeling I got is like, an investment in Mach-E. Also, by the way, on the battery architecture, in the presentation, they were very clear, very fast charging, right? So I think when they presented that, both of us looked at each other and we were like,
800 volts.
Yeah, totally is what we were
and then
thinking.
400.
Yeah, so the fact that they like made a point to say very fast charging and then it's still 400 really does, I guess we have to assume, it makes us assume that they have plans efficiency-wise. And they referenced this in the roundtable as well, aerodynamics. They said unheard of aerodynamics.
For a form factor, for a mid-sized truck.
Unheard of aerodynamics. We know that the battery, like you said, is going to be smaller, LFP, so you're able to charge to 100% greater miles for usage, right? In general usage, but it sucks that we can't just say 800 volt, but I am still optimistic and curious because they leaned into that like very intentionally.
Yeah. And by the way, this was very quick, event for us. We had to come straight to the airport. They had the roundtable, but right after the roundtable, we did have a few minutes. So Sandy Munro was there. If you don't know Sandy Munro, he's been known in the industry for being the teardown titan, driving efficiency, consulting with a lot of companies. He was there, so had a moment to talk to him and ask him about this Model T moment. So this was billed as the Model T moment for Ford. What do you think about that? Like, is that the correct billing for this step forward?
Okay, so I went on a tour. I saw the car complete. I saw every bit and piece that went in it. I can't talk about it because it's an embargo that
There'd be some people tackling you.
No, I don't want, I don't know all these people. But anyways, and when I walked around and looked at everything and looked at how different everything was, I said, this is the Model T of our times. And it's on their video. It's on, if you ask Doug and
Alan.
and you ask Alan, it's there. Ask Jim. Jim Farley. They all heard me say it, and they liked it, and it's a good deal. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that this is a step change. Anytime you have a step change, everybody will try and get on board and make some huge difference. And we were talking a bit ago about the Taurus.
Yeah.
Okay, the Taurus had 40% less parts than a conventional Chevy. It had 30, I can't remember the exact number, but over 30% less parts than a Toyota in its time, like when it first came out. It was so revolutionary that Ford went from near bankruptcy to being on top of the planet.
It's a huge turning point.
One car. And then all the other cars were kind of patterned after it. What can we do? And I've got tons of information on comparisons between here's a Taurus and here's a GM product I can't remember the name of. And we just went side by side. The front bumper on a Taurus had something ridiculous, like 15 parts. And there was 100 parts, over 100 parts on the GM product. It was like It was like staggering. And you look at that same kind of an issue where I've got 10 or 15 parts here on a Taurus, and then over here I've got the like a Toyota or something, and there's 75 parts or something like that. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, the difference. In fact, I mentioned the guy that was the chief engineer or whatever, or engineering specialist on, he killed himself at Toyota. He killed him. In Japan, it's succeed or die kind of a thing. It was super duper different, really different, and everybody changed. Everybody. Yeah. Okay, well, this is the same deal here. Everybody's going to look at this, and everybody's going to change.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have talked about some of the things that we're seeing in this, changing the assembly line, reducing the parts, doing the unicasting, but it seems like Ford is trying to bring it all together at once, which is going to be like a revolutionary step in the industry, not just Ford.
Yeah. Okay, that's Jim Farley.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, Jim, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so
this was a good.
You were the inspiration. You and John and a lot of other people in this room. I've been waiting 3 years to show you what the team's. And a lot of you guys always hoped that a Detroit company would change it up a little bit.
And you did it.
Yeah. Well, we got to land the plane now. That's the hardest part. But I'm so glad you're all here, and I'm sure the story will play out for many months to come. But most of all, I'm glad we can celebrate this moment together, because it's not going to be easy.
See you again. I have a question for you. You still have your fancy?
Yes, I do. I have it on my desk. Mine is pink. It's not purple. Yeah, I have a pink one.
You can have the purple one.
Yeah.
If you want to come back.
Well, this is like
next TV.
That's the Model T pony.
Yeah. Oh, is the original one? I have a pink one.
You get the pink one,
no,
but
it's
yeah.
the
No,
OG.
for this new generation.
For the new generation.
I mean, we're super excited for this. Transformational change. Yeah, we changed our name. We used to be the machevlog. We're now the Electric Duo.
Electric Duo. Okay.
Wowzers.
Her logo is bigger than yours.
Yeah, it's stretched somehow. Yeah, thank you.
And of course, as you can tell, Jim Farley appeared in the doorway, so we had to just swing over to him. So cool to see him there for a second. We did request an interview, but he was literally swamped by people, swamped by media and interviews. But it was great to get to chat with him for a second. He was really, really excited. This you can tell it's not like he's trying to sell something. He was genuinely excited, and I got to give him another fancy pony. I gave him a purple fancy pony to go with his pink one.
Yeah.
For the next gen of EVs, hopefully the Mach-E in there.
Yeah, we'll see. So there's a lot to take in, and we're sort of digesting all of this. We don't know if Ford's going to slowly be trickling out any more information. I have a feeling that they have more events planned in the next few months. One of the thoughts that I had is why are they doing this now? And I very much think it's because they're getting ready to announce when the Louisville plant that we were at is going to close, sort of retooling. And as they gear up and get ready for that, they're going to start signing the contracts and getting the equipment lined up and ready to make this transition. So that information was going to be out there. So they had to sort of now finally reveal what is going on. But it sort of speaks to the direction that Ford is going in with all of this. And there's been a lot of stuff going on with tariffs. The Mustang Mach-E's built in Mexico, so there's tariffs on that. There's tariffs on the battery components. So and the tax credit's going away. So a lot of people are what's going to happen to all EV manufacturing? And then of course, Ford EV manufacturing. This sort of is a stake in the ground of no, they're continuing on. So I thought it was a very good moment for them. The fact that they are revolutionizing the way manufacturing is being done, and they're not the only ones. Others are going for this same goal, but basically breaking the vehicle up into 3 components and then bringing that together for the final assembly is something that we haven't seen done yet. And somebody asked, by the way, in the roundtable, how are you breaking this up? They did say it's going to be front, middle, rear section. They did say you're not going to have with concurrent assembly lines, putting the chairs, the seats through the doorway, and then we're working on the dashboard through the doorway. So you can sort of see it's the seats are going to probably be in that middle section. as it's built, and then the dashboard and those components are going to be on the front section, so that like somebody that's putting on the controls on the front section, the steering wheel or whatever, they're not going to have to like reach in to do that. It's going to be on that front section, and then it'll be mated to the middle section and the rear section.
They did talk also about incorporating AI in their manufacturing facilities, and that they are doing that already. And there were a lot of questions of, will this be replacing humans? And it was clear that this is in cooperation with humans. So
Right.
and actually I couldn't get the number, but like I believe they were inferring that there'll be more jobs, but it will almost be like managing the AI. So it seems like this will very much be removing the strain on the humans, and there's a huge emphasis on training the people that are there. So the people that are there, and it was really cool to see a lot of them, like how excited they were. Like everyone who was in the factory was there. A lot of people working, and I didn't want to interrupt them while we were walking through, but they were all like really excited, like waved and like, you know, we're obviously excited for what's going on. So they are going to go through a retraining to learn this whole new thing, which is going to make their jobs easier. And that was the cool thing, to see the 6 employees who got to go to Long Beach and actually see the vehicle. And the one gentleman talking about how he can't wait for this to come and like make his job easier. And like I'm sure all of us have experienced the impact of our jobs changing based on AI or different software tools, even things that weren't software based previously. And it's scary sometimes, I think, and challenging to know that you have to learn a whole new thing. So I'm excited for these people to be facing this challenge with such excitement, and that it will benefit them so much in the long run. And that's what you want to see, right?
And that's the job factor, of course, is something huge. And of course, this, you know, Commonwealth of Kentucky is very excited about that. The job creation that Ford has done in the state, the fact that there's multiple EV battery factories coming here and other stuff. And we actually got to talk to Governor Andy Beshear about that briefly as well.
So I'm Patrick Anderson. That's my wife, Liv. We actually make videos about electric cars.
Excellent.
So we're really excited to see electric cars
Yes.
you know, being produced here in Kentucky. How do you what does that mean for Kentucky?
Well, we're thrilled. We know that EVs are the future, and a lot of people have tried to fight the future, and no one's ever won. And so when you look at where a state ought to be to make sure it's competitive, moving into the future, it's right here. You know, we got left behind on the energy economy, and parts of our state were devastated. We weren't going to let that happen on auto. So we secured 3 of the largest battery plants on planet Earth. We're also building some energy storage battery plants. And now this game-changing investment, and they chose Kentucky. So pretty special to be a worldwide leader.
And then add to that, there's a lot of jobs too. So this plant here is going to have 2,200 jobs. The other plants, as you said, are going to have a lot more jobs. So it's sort of, you know, even if you don't like EVs, you got jobs coming, right?
It's a huge jobs leader. So we're now over 10,000 announced EV jobs. And there have been rumors about this plant right here closing for over a decade. The future is now sound and stable. People are going to be able to work here for 30, 40, 50 years to come. And the reason is the EV sector.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations for the state of Kentucky, or the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we look to see more and more EV investment here because you guys are making it welcome.
We're excited and to deliver an affordable car for the American people, especially that's an EV, means more dollars for groceries, more dollars to invest in your kids, more dollars for medicine, and yes, more families are going to be able to take a vacation driving one of these electric vehicles.
Awesome. Thank you again. Congrats.
So he's obviously very excited, but that also, like Liv was saying, it's like talking to and just seeing the workers. I think they're also getting excited. As I was going through TSA security, I mentioned I was just coming from an event. They're like, "What event?" And I said, "Ford." And they're like, "Oh, I heard about that on the news this morning." So the excitement in the local community is there. So we're really excited to see that in actuality and give you that report that everybody is really excited. So let's see what else.
Well, okay, here's something that's big. So we have a reservation for a Slate, right? We went to the Slate reveal. If you're not familiar with Slate, we'll just give you the rundown. It's a $25,000 truck that is bare bones, torn down. It's that 90s truck that you might miss.
Crank windows,
crank
no
windows,
stereo.
no stereo. Everything is just bare bones. You can add on stuff if you want, but the whole point is being like just simplistic, right? So for one, there was like a little bit of a dig maybe in their press release, and maybe you can quote it.
Yeah,
but
Doug
like,
Field said it as well. It's like, this
Yeah.
is not old school bare bones, I think, vehicle or truck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's totally a dig at Slate.
Yeah, so there was definitely that Slate dig, but that's certainly something that stood out for me was, so we have a $30,000 truck, right, with no compromise, and I was really like looking for the compromise in digital experience, in doors, right, 2-door, 4-door, in range, in battery charging, in all those regards. I was looking for compromise, and I didn't see it, aside from not hearing that it's 800 volt. So they are definitely going all in on creating an amazing experience and a vehicle that gives you everything that you want with no compromise, it seems like, for $30,000. So it's certainly going to be hard to see a $25,000 Slate and then a $30,000 amazing Ford truck, midsize truck. But then
if
again,
they deliver, yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them have to deliver.
They have to deliver.
And that was something too that, like, during the roundtable, somebody asked, is like, are you, two parts of this, like, are you like trying to compete against basically all vehicles? And they're like, yes, absolutely. So they want it to be the best, most attractive, financial sense wise, $30,000 truck that you can buy. They want you to, like, if you're looking at a RAV4, you're like, well, this has more room than a RAV4 and it has a truck bed. So they're thinking about those type of things, competing against hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and coming out with a very desirable product that you will just go like, it just makes sense for this. So that's, part of where this Model T moment comes from. The other thing is like, you'll notice like in the press release or video or something like that, they're like, it'll have a lower cost of ownership than a 3-year-old Model Y. And they sort of specifically brought that up. And I was like, it seemed like a weird,
very specific
comparison. But they were saying, like, basically, like, if you look at a 3-year-old Model Y that you can buy for used, those are relatively cheap. And they want to be like, so that if you had a choice between a 3-year-old Model Y and this, you'd be like, I can get a new vehicle for this price, and it's going to have the same, low maintenance costs or whatever, but you'll get new instead of a 3-year-old Model Y. And it'll have a truck bed. So they're being very aggressive at this. There was also a lot of discussion, and I wanted to get more into this, and luckily some of the people asking at the roundtable were like the comparisons with the Chinese manufacturers, and they specifically are like, we cannot compete on labor costs with the Chinese manufacturers, but like everything that we're doing together will make us competitive, and that includes reinventing the assembly line, doing structural battery pack, getting that LFP technology here in the U.S. so that it's lower cost for U.S. manufacturing. They got the tax credit incentives for the production of the EV cells, so that's huge. But they're like, all of this together is what's going to make it so that this is a revolutionary product, and that's something that I kept on seeing as they were making this presentation. If you look at everything they're doing, like each little component is like, that's a step in the right direction. But when you add it all together, that's where you get the Model T moment. Like that's where things come together, and you're going to have all of a sudden this revolutionary product. And if you think about it, like if you can get, a $30,000 vehicle that's a truck that has the room of a RAV4, that has a lockable front, a lockable truck bed, good efficiency, charges well, it's going to be, I won't say a no-brainer, but it would be a very heavily considered item for a lot of people. I know we will be very interested in this.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think I totally agree with what you're saying, that the Model T moment is multifaceted and layered. And I think we might not see the full benefits of it yet. So the people who got to go see the actual truck in Long Beach, including Sandy Munro, we were chatting with him and he was like, hey, literally, I looked at it and I thought that's a Model T moment right there.
Yeah.
Was his first thought. And so I feel like we're going to see more of this. Like the Model T moment is in manufacturing. It's in the, the entire design of this entire system. And then it's also going to be in the vehicle itself, of course. And the Model T moment also being something that the people making it can actually afford. And I like that, like people who need to buy their groceries or school for the kids or whatever it is. And and then also be able to afford this vehicle. Like EVs shouldn't be luxury. This needs to be something that's accessible. And I think it's cool that we're banking on this not getting any tax credit. We know that's the case, right? So up until now, EVs have leaned into that, right? Like think about the amount of marketing that you've seen where the price that you're actually seeing, that's that fun, fancy price, is not actually what you're going to get, right? Didn't Tesla vehicles honestly show it with the tax
it would
incentive?
say like with tax and credit and gas savings.
Yeah.
And then you go like click on it, you're like, no, the actual price is way higher.
Yeah.
And pretty much every manufacturer was doing that to an extent. So it's really good that they're are targeting making it like $30,000
accessible.
Could you imagine like if today's announcement was with the federal tax credit, like just
People would lose
a couple of months ago, they would have been like under 25,000 for this. So I think it's huge and in the right direction. And it, if you saw, they're using the universal car logo and now it's universal vehicle. It also talks about the versatility of this platform, and something that they emphasized even more during the roundtable was that this platform is going to be very versatile, multiple top hats, as they talked about. So it's going to be an EV truck, and I say it like that because they were like, we're not going to say anything besides the truck, but you could sort of guess it could be a two-row sporty SUV, maybe a
their graphic, if we're going by that graphic that they had, it was a sedan, a truck. Oh no, I'm sorry, a truck, a sedan, a van.
Yep.
A big SUV, a small SUV, a three-seater, and that was it. That's three row.
Yeah, and if you listen to Jim Farley like last week, he's talked about like they do trucks well, they do passion vehicles like Mustang, Raptor, those type of things well, and they also do commercial pro side. So they've also talked about in previous sessions about potentially like doing some partnerships with autonomous driving companies, maybe Uber, maybe whoever, and providing something like that. So this platform could really help out, be providing them with low-cost vehicles that are on an EV platform. But if you look at what Ford, and this goes back to the roundtable, they're talking about like they want to be differentiators in a market. So they want to provide you not just like a mid-sized truck, but a mid-sized truck with a front and a lockable bed space, those type of things. So differentiate themselves. So that seems like very exciting. And if you apply that to some of these other vehicles, then all of a sudden, like maybe you will get a performance version of this platform in the next generation Mustang Mach-E. They wouldn't touch that. We even asked Jim Farley, as you saw, he's nope, I got to go. So they're not going to say any of that stuff, but it's like I got to believe like we've heard this for a couple of years now. They're like, we do trucks well, we do passion vehicles well, meaning Raptor and Mustang, and we do commercial vehicles well. So I think this will play out into that. And they were very specific in this platform is starting off in Louisville, but they plan to export this. And I thought they were like, we're going to build vehicles and export them, but they want to export this platform as well. So they wouldn't say what markets, but they're like, it's designed to be exported. So it could be in South America, Asia, and Europe as well.
And they also wouldn't say that they're not going to produce ICE vehicles on this platform too. That was one of the questions, and they were very evasive, but they didn't say.
They said it will be EV to start.
To start, yeah. And then I think something that's just really, really exciting is that this is the energy and the vibrance of a startup, right? Because they peeled off, made their Skunkworks team out in Long Beach and put together people from other extremely successful companies, like the best of the best, right? Everyone, and all different teams, as they were saying, like everyone of every part of this vehicle and ecosystem were there under one roof without the supervision of Ford in a way. Like they stated that Jim Farley had, final say and all, but they had the freedom of a startup, the backing of a legacy manufacturer who's been doing this for 122 years. And then they also have the capability of actually producing to scale. So that's such a big deal because we have Rivian or other startups who have the amazing idea, the freedom of a startup, and of their own innovation, but they may not have the experience, the history, or the backing to fulfill the demand down the line. We want them all to succeed. I have that reservation for an R2, and I really want an R3 though, so don't worry. But
Yeah.
we want them to succeed, but it's Ford said they're betting on this, and like I think that's a pretty good bet with the whole system that they have, like the intent.
Well, and I think that's the thing is like, like I said, if you start putting all the pieces together, you start realizing, that's what's clicking for me. And I know some people will just go like, they're only concerned to like, unless it's being produced tomorrow and we know the range, charging speed, all of those things. But really it's like, that's among our EV friends. But what's going to make this a revolutionary product is talking to our non-EV friends and like, what are they looking for? And they're looking for, when they're going out to buy a vehicle, the ones that don't have EVs already, it's like, what's going to get them out of going for that RAV4 and into an electric vehicle? As much as I think the Mach-E is cool, and as much as I think the Rivian R2 is cool, those aren't necessarily it. R2 is starting at 45,000. I think it's a great, good value. Like I see it, great, right? I love Rivian, but it's like, is that convincing our neighbors to consider it? If you start going like, well, it's $30,000 and it gives you this much range and you can charge it home, then I think all of a sudden you make it more appealing. And I think that's what's, we tend to look at a lot of EV specs from an EV nerd perspective. And most people don't care about that. We have a friend we mentioned in a previous video, just bought an Ioniq 5. Their boyfriend partner has a Chevy Bolt. And we're like, your car charges like 5 times faster than his. It's like, what does that mean to me? And we're like, she bought the car. It's in her driveway.
It doesn't matter. They don't road trip, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So again, we've been talking about all of this. We're going to do some more in-depth analysis, when we have a chance to digest everything. We got to get ready to go catch our plane in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an exciting day. I know there's a lot of information and attention being given to this. And by the way, there's check out Out of Spec Reviews. We're going to do a video with them as well that might come out before this or after this or whatever.
As long as we catch all our flights, we are doing a video with them tonight when we get home, or it'll be in some airport randomly. This really was...
If Kyle doesn't trash the video and go like, never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, we'll see. But this was absolutely crazy. And it's so funny because when Patrick and I talk off each other, I'm like, okay, I want to say this. I want to say this. And then oftentimes when it comes to me, I'm like, what were those things? I have like more things than I can count because there was so much packed into this. So we'll definitely be sharing more as this develops. I will say we're an hour from the Long Beach facility. We did a video showing the grand opening. We were actually there just the week before checking it out.
From the outside.
From the outside, yeah,
just
because we're sneaky.
Anyways.
Yeah, but like it's not far from us. If there's any coverage to happen from there, we are getting it. We'll do our best. We are so excited about this, and by the sound of it, that truck is just sitting there in Long Beach. Oh, I want to look at it.
I want to go find it, but it's.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got it under heavy wraps, but.
Yeah,
it's going to be, I think Ford is going to be very vocal and out front, and as these steps start to take place, and it's just going to take time to go through this. Yes, when I first heard him talking, I was hoping that they were further, like it's going to be like in 8 months or whatever, but we're halfway through 2025. My guess is they're talking about going to battery production in Michigan in 2026. So then maybe we'll start seeing toward the end of 2026, we'll see the vehicle maybe before then, and then production starting in 2027.
And that's something I wanted to say, by the way. Ford is slow. Everything they do is very slow. The startup world is very quick, right? The Chinese EVs are coming out very quickly. Their iterations and everything that they're doing is quick. Ford is notoriously slow. They are deliberate. They are invested. So it's not unexpected that we would see something that's to come in the future. But I'm excited in that they don't tend to, I don't think they would announce something of this scale without like a hell of a lot that's going into it. Like, so we know this is not just a truck. We're not just talking about a truck. They are planning the entire Ford Universal EV production system, the platform. So I think they are thinking far beyond the truck. And I think that is what's also extra cool, because when we have a portfolio of 5 vehicles or something that you can choose from, so that you don't have to like a truck, I can have an SUV or whatever, like that. We really need that. We don't just want the same thing. Like, everyone needs what suits them. We need that variety. You know what? Maybe the Chinese EVs will be there by that time. That's okay, because like, we as consumers want options. We want affordable vehicles. We want that technology. I want to see these companies, battling each other in a good way in regards to innovation and in regards to production. And like this, we're on the cusp, or I guess we're already like rolling over the roller coaster of AI integration and all these things, which are really going to challenge the way that we humans earn money and the way that we work, right, as we integrate this stuff more. So I'm hopeful that this is really growth in a good direction. And when all those affordable EVs are here, who's going to win?
Yeah.
We're going to win, because we'll have choices. That's ultimately it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think we got to wrap it up.
We probably have to go to
catch
our
our
gate.
plane.
Yeah.
We got just a few minutes. We got to send out some emails real quick. So thank you guys for watching. Again, look for more coverage and analysis. And if we get any more info, drop your comments down below if you have any questions or whatever. We will circle back around with Ford if we have anything that down below that we can answer. But yeah, just stay tuned with us. This is one of our first videos as the Electric Duo. So we're sort of excited by our new name. But as you can tell, we're still covering all the Ford stuff. We're still have our Mach-E. I can't wait to get home and drive the Mach-E now.
I know.
And hopefully, like, who knows, maybe we'll be reserving a future Mach-E built on this platform, even though Ford won't say.
Yeah, we still love our Mach-E. We still run the Mustang Mach-E Club of Americas and the Ford EV Club's website. We asked them as much as we could about Mach-E and Lightning, and if we get that information, we will tell you, and we'll keep digging on that. I will, of course, have an article on agirlsguidetocars.com. That is who I was here covering with as well. And this was incredible. If you guys want any more information or a follow-up, do let us know.
Yep.
So on that note, we have to catch a flight. Thank you so much for joining us for this video in which we attended the August 11th Ford Model T moment announcement. Let us know your thoughts. Was it a Model T moment for you? Is the future exciting? How do you feel? What else?
That's it.
A huge thank you to our patrons whose names are scrolling across the screen right now. We so appreciate you guys so very, very much. Your support, and you, our YouTube members as well, helps us have the enormous amount of cameras that we took today, because we were filming everything. Cameras in people's faces, mics everywhere. We try. Anyways, we got to catch our flight. So on that note, just remember that whatever you drive, whether it's a Mach-E,
however it's built, assembly
however it's
line
built,
or modular.
enjoy the ride. Bye.